The Asaro people of New Guinea tell the story of how their ancestors took revenge on their enemies. Defeated in battle, the Asaro launched a counterattack, covered in a mud paste disguised as spirits risen from the dead. Their gruesome clay masks and sharpened bamboo claws terrified their enemies, and the Asaro won the rematch. They're still known as the Mudmen, and they wear body art to celebrate that victory long ago. But some people don't alter their bodies for war or fashion, or even custom. For some, it's a matter of religious devotion. An extreme example can be found in Thailand, where every autumn, the island of Phuket hosts a unique religious festival. It's based in Buddhist and Taoist traditions, transformed here into a unique spectacle. In the throes of religious possession, local believers pierce their cheeks with an incredible variety of sharp objects. They do it to demonstrate their faith and communicate with their gods. Amazingly, they seem to suffer no ill effects, and they claim they feel no pain. In India, the faithful show their devotion in less extreme ways. Hindus paint their foreheads to honor specific gods. A U-shaped stripe identifies devotees of Vishnu. 3 horizontal lines mark the followers of Shiva. Body art has deep cultural roots in India, where some parents still paint lamp black around their babies' eyes to protect them from evil. Adults can also find symbolic protection in body art. The intricate geometric designs called mehndi are meant to magically shield a bride from bad fortune and disease. Ornate patterns like these can be found in other Indian arts, like fabric design and painting, and they're a fundamental part of the wedding ceremony. Arranged marriages are an ancient custom in the Muslim and Hindu world, where the bride and groom almost never saw each other before the wedding. In her long sari and veil, the only parts of the bride that were visible were her hands and her feet, so they were painted with patterns that were both beautiful and spiritual. Even today, no wedding is complete without a mehndi artist like Neelam Gupta, who decorates the bride and the women of her family.
I don't know if I should call myself an artist who does mehndi, or just an artist expressing herself with a mehndi medium. It's a traditional art. It's a natural dye which is applied on the body, leaves a good stain, and leaves you looking beautiful for a couple of weeks.
Mehndi is painted on the skin with a paste made from the henna plant. They say the longer the mehndi stays on the hands, the better the prospects for the marriage. But there are other benefits too.
Usually when brides got mehndi done, as long as the mehndi stayed on their hands, they did not have to take part in the household activities or work. Those were the few days off they got in their life. If you go for an Indian wedding, you will find not only the bride, the other people in the house also got mehndi on their hands.
Now, times are changing, and mehndi isn't just for weddings anymore.
I have seen this develop and evolve from a traditional Indian art to a fashion statement, a trendy fashion statement over here in the West. I think it's fun. I think there's always an exchange of culture, where the East would get maybe MTV, computers, fast food, and the West could get something like the culture, the spiritualism, including mehndi.
Eastern influences have permeated our culture, and the body arts of India are a hot fashion trend. Hollywood stars have adopted the ancient designs of Mendi, and they adorn their foreheads with bindi, the jeweled ornaments worn by Hindu women. They're attracted to the spiritualism behind these customs, and it's a way to make a bold fashion statement without the pain or permanence of a tattoo. But in Polynesia, traditional patterns are more than flashy decorations. They carry cultural history permanently inscribed on the flesh. Tricia Allen is an anthropologist who studies Polynesian tattoos, and she's a tattoo artist herself.
I was always intrigued with traditional Polynesian culture, and I learned to tattoo in preparation for doing field work in the Pacific. I believed that it would be easier to approach the tattoo community and to gain a better understanding of it as a tattooist than it would be as an academic. My tattoos are a mark of who I am, of where I've been, of events and people that have been important to me. This tattoo represents about 10 years of my personal history, from the point that I finished my degree to the time I lived in Tahiti and worked with the artists there.
All over Polynesia, tattoos were worn by both men and women as a mark of their social standing or in memory of a loved one.
It was from the Pacific that even the word tattoo comes, from the Samoan and Tahitian word tatau, or tatatau, which means to tap, to mark the skin, to tap the ink in. The tools themselves had anywhere from 3 to 20 teeth, dependent on the design that was being applied. The teeth would then be dipped into a pigment, placed on the skin and tapped in.
In some parts of the Pacific, the technique was more grueling. The Maori people of New Zealand wore facial tattoos called moko. They weren't tapped into the skin, they were chiseled in.
The tools that were used were very, very similar to wood carving tools. The Maori facial tattoo would have been extremely painful. In fact, there was such swelling that the person couldn't even eat after the fact. The Maori facial moko would indicate rank, lineage, genealogy, sacred house that one might be affiliated with, as well as a person's achievements or accomplishments.
In ancient New Zealand, facial mokos were worn by nearly all men of high social rank. Women were also tattooed, but the woman's tattoo, called a blue privilege, was much smaller, just around the mouth and below the chin.
Today there's a tremendous resurgence in traditional tattooing. It's a mark of self-identity, of pride in one's cultural roots, and respect for one's history, and in some cases a mark of defiance to colonial powers.
We have one body, one life we live, decorated. Body, no tattoos, no, naked.
Isaiah To'atu'u wears tattoos as a way of preserving the memory of his ancestors, who came from the island of Tonga.
Tattooing makes me feel like who I am, where I'm going, where I'm from, a sense of direction in my life. The rolls, this represents rope. The backing of the yellowfin tuna, the fish, represents deep sea fishing. It's a modern pattern that I came up with that represents the trowel of a cement. My family came from Hawaii working as a mason worker and a tree trimmer. So I put this trowel to represent our fathers in our family. The flower represents the women in our family. Without women, the men of Tonga is not complete. I want my whole body to live history, so when I get old and my grandchildren see, I explain the reason. I get a sense of culture in my heart and heritage. It's reliving again. That's how I feel. I mean, it's like history is taking on again, and it just makes me proud.